On a chilly Christmas Eve, Junichi Tachibana waits expectantly for a girl who had agreed to go on a date with him. He waits and waits and waits, and eventually it becomes clear to him that he's been stood up. Flash forward to 2 years later, and we've got second-year high school student Junichi all huddled up in his closet planetarium. Until now, he's still completely hung up about why his date didn't show up that day. His sister, Mia Tachibana, has to go out of her way to make Junichi get ready for class. As the two siblings head to school together, Mia spots her friend and leaves her brother all by himself, but not for long. Masayoshi Yumehara, Junichi's best friend since childhood, arrives and teases him about Mia, despite knowing full well she's a sister. They walk side by side. With Masayoshi telling Junichi all about his new saucy photo album of Japanese idols on their way, Masayoshi spots Haruka Morishima a few steps ahead. Haruka is a very popular senior in their school, and for a good reason. Junichi and Masayoshi can't help but stare and admire her unparalleled beauty. She's pretty well known among the guys too. Masayoshi mentions that the girl recently turned down someone in their class. Later, while discussing preparations for the annual school festival, Junichi observes how their class representative Tsukasa Ayatsuji is quite hard-working. As he ponders this, Tsukasa glances at the boy, making him blush. During lunch, Junichi loses in a game of rock, paper, scissors to Masayoshi and another one of his childhood friends Kaoru Tanamachi. With this, he has no choice but to buy bread for all three of them. When Junichi gets to the cafeteria, it's already a war zone of students shouting out their orders. Spotting a struggling freshman, he asks her what she wants and instantly gets her food from afar. Haruka watches this interaction, making the beautiful girl smile on his way back to his classroom. Junichi trips on a straight piece of plastic, causing all the bread he bought to fly around to a surprise. Haruka arrives to help him out. She fondly nicknames the boy Big Appetite Goon after seeing his bag filled with bread. The blue-eyed senior even touches Junichi's face, telling him he has adorable eyes. Before going her way, Haruka mentions that Junichi's a nice guy for assisting the freshman. Earlier, the boy can't help but fall into a daze after this exchange. His childhood friend Rihoko Sakurai even has to call his attention multiple times before she can elicit a response. After school, Junichi apologizes to Tsukasa for making her wait as class rep. Tsukasa's task to collect her classmates' guidance papers and Junichi's the last to turn in his. But the girl smiles kindly at him, saying it's no problem. Upon learning from Tsukasa that Masayoshi's at the library, Junichi looks around for him, only to bump into Haruka. The girl falls to the floor and drops her books, but she's excited to see Junichi, and of course, the boy is more than happy to carry her collection of puppy photo books for her. While walking down the hallway, they spot Haruka's friend Hibiki. Takahara, who promptly asks her to thank Junichi for his helping hand. However, Haruka realizes she still doesn't know the boy's name. This causes Hibiki to reprimand her, but Haruka ultimately knows she can trust her companion, as she believes he's genuinely nice. Despite knowing Haruka is way out of his league, Junichi can't help but fall for her. Those feelings he lost 2 years ago, he wants to discover them again, days after Junichi's incident with Haruka. He remains determined to pursue her, even if all odds are stacked against him. But the boy never considered he'd meet Haruka again while playing leapfrog, of all things. While Haruka gleefully straddles him, his strength runs out and he falls flat on his face. Junichi and Haruka walk together on the school grounds, where they meet Mia. He introduces Haruka to his sister, but for some reason? Mia asked coldly, excusing herself to leave almost immediately. Despite this, Haruka finds Mia absolutely adorable, saying she'd love to go shopping and take baths together. This has Junichi's imagination running wild. Who can blame him? After school, Junichi confronts Mia and asks what was up with her attitude earlier. He doesn't get anywhere. As she merely storms off in irritation, well, there's nothing much Junichi can do about that. As he exits the school building, he sees Haruka sitting by the fountain, ethereally beautiful as ever. Noticing that she's sneezing, Junichi approaches the girl and hands her a disposable hand warmer. After she thanks him, Haruka shares how much she likes looking at water like the sea, the river. In this fountain, watching her press the hand warmer to her face, Junichi chokes out a sincere confession. He expresses his feelings quietly at first, only to repeat his words with more conviction. Haruka is surprised by the sudden admission. Although knowing Junichi likes her makes her happy, she rejects the boy, saying she prefers someone older and more reliable. With that, Haruka thanks Junichi again. Where the hand warmer as she leaves him to his thoughts, Junichi can't believe that he's just confessed his feelings. As the painful reality sinks in, Junichi walks home, dejectedly locking himself inside his closet. Once he arrives the next morning, everyone that bumps into Junichi comments on how awful he looks. Apparently the poor guy couldn't get a wink of sleep after Haruka's candid rejection. Noticing his terrible condition, Tsukasa suggests Juni chairs that the infirmary for a while. The boy gladly accepts, but his heart instantly skips a beat when he sees Haruka sleeping on one of the beds. Suddenly, the girl wakes up and is surprised to see Junichi. She surprises him by acting like her normal self, even though she literally just turned him down yesterday. When Junichi brings this up, Haruka apologizes for being insensitive and not considering his feelings, but to tell the truth, the boy does want to continue getting along with her. Delighted by this, Haruka shakes hands with him to mark their sustained friendship. Before Haruka leaves, Junichi asks what else she looks for in a guy. She thinks for a moment before listing down 3 characteristics: toughness, charisma, and leadership. When Junichi returns to class, he creeps out his friends. With his complete 180 in personality, the boy just can't help but be glad knowing he can still talk with Haruka. Maybe they'll get even closer. This thought has him all fired up as he runs home. The next day, Junichi decides to try pro wrestling to acquire all of the 3 characteristics Haruka listed. Masayoshi doesn't understand. An egg spontaneous burst of motivation, but helps his best friend nonetheless. Haruka spots them and asks to join in. The guys initially hesitate, but when Haruka says she'll use the wrestling technique called an octopus hold on them, they gladly welcome her to a fair fight. Of course, who doesn't want to get into an octopus hold with Miss Popular? Before Junichi and Haruka can begin fighting, Hibiki arrives to spoil the fun. Though the 3 will have to postpone their wrestling bouts, it's still the boys' lucky day as Haruka invites them to walk home together. As they do, Junichi notices everyone looking their way because of the gorgeous senior in their midst. He then learns from Masayoshi that Haruka's secret to being so well known is that she used to join one club after another. Normally, people drift away from a club. After dropping out, but the friendly senior's charm lies in her ability to still get along with her previous fellow club members. The girls overhear them and Hibiki chimes in with another reason why Haruka's so popular. She mentions how recently the most popular guys from both the junior and senior years confessed to Haruka simultaneously. She had to run all over the school to turn them down, though Junichi is glad to hear Haruka rejected them. He isn't prepared to listen to the girls say that she'll probably turn anyone who tries to confess to her again. The feelings he harbored all day long crumble all too easily at that moment. The next day, Junichi once again looks terrible, not even bothering to talk to his concerned sister. But as soon as Haruka approaches, Junichi's face instantly lights up. In contrast, Mia avoids the beautiful senior's touch and she runs off to leave the pair alone. After apologizing to Haruka, Junichi follows his sister. He catches up to Mia, scolding her for being rude. Though she knows Haruka's being nice to her, Mia can't help but be angry as the beautiful girl can easily grab Junichi's attention. Junichi wouldn't even respond to his sister, yet he was grinning from ear to ear. After seeing Haruka, her frustration bubbles over, so she splashes her brother with water. Poor Jeannie. She ends up going to class completely drenched. During class, Junichi stares out the window until Kaoru throws a piece of paper at him. Junichi throws her crumpled up doodle back at her, and they end up having a paper ball fight. This angers the teacher, and they're punished with cleaning duty. Unfortunately, Junichi has to do it alone because Kaoru says she has a part-time job. While carrying a trash bin, Junichi is approached by Haruka, asking if he has a swimsuit to lend her. Of course, he doesn't have one. Why did Haruka even think he would? She then asks if she could borrow me a swimsuit instead. But judging by her physique, Junichi knows his sister's clothes just wouldn't fit. Haruka's sudden enthusiasm for swimming stems from seeing the swim club members perform their training. Realizing she can just ask one of the girls from the club for their usual school swimsuit, Haruka drugs Junichi with her. The extroverted girl easily acquires what she needs, leaving Junichi to get changed. With Junichi being a guy in a room filled with girls, he easily looks out of place, so one of the swim club members approaches him, demanding to know why he's even here. Before Junichi can get thrown out, Haruka introduces him to Nanasaki, a freshman. Unfortunately, Haruka doesn't get a chance to swim as Hibiki soon arrives. As the captain of the swim club, Hibiki must kick outsiders out, even if one of them is her close friend. Haruka sulks as she and Junichi walk down the hallway to cheer her up. Junichi suggests they go to the library. To look at photo albums of puppies. His enthusiasm to help her find albums she hasn't flipped through before makes Haruka giddy with delight. While looking for new books, Junichi catches Rihoko, who immediately hides the volume she's reading. Junichi doesn't need to see the cover to know what's about dieting, as Rihoko's one of his childhood friends. He's witnessed her countless attempts at dieting since middle school. But if you ask The boy, he doesn't think Rihoko needs to be that worried about it. Junichi returns to find the senior girls sleeping peacefully. Not wanting to wake her, he drapes his coat over Haruka and sits on the opposite side of the table, patiently waiting for her to wake up. The sun has almost set when the girl finishes her nap. After Haruka thanks Junior, she's nice gesture with the quote, the two teens have no idea what to say to each other. Until she notices the books. To her delight, they're all albums she's never seen as Haruka's. Engrossed with a book, Junichi decides to confess again. The girl is surprised, but her suitor explains how much fun he has with her, feeling like he can talk to her about anything. This is an unexpected move, but Haruka doesn't think Junichi needs to apologize. However, she doesn't understand why the boy is still so determined even after being rejected once. But to Junichi, as long as he has a chance, he doesn't want to give up. Seeing him trying so hard flusters Haruka. If he's that dedicated, she doesn't think she can just say no. To Junichi. Surprise, Haruka suddenly leans forward to give him a gentle smooch on the forehead. Apparently, the girl thought his eyebrows, furrowed in determination, looked so adorable. She couldn't help but give them a nice peck. On that note, Haruka departs from a smiling Junichi who merely stares at the late afternoon skies the next day. Junichi is overflowing with motivation for academics and athletics, as though love has given him a new perspective on the world. Although his friends do wonder if Junichi suddenly contracted some sort of disease during lunch. Even their homeroom teacher, Miss Maya. Takahashi, says she noticed Junichi's sudden enthusiasm during class. Miss Takahashi guesses it's because something incredible happened to Janice's love life. You bet. The girl of Junichi's dreams just gave him a smooch on the forehead yesterday. Soon, Kaoru and her friend Keiko Tanaka joined them, with Kaoru teasing Junichi to the fullest. Haruka sees the exchange and before she can help her. Health. She drags Junichi along by the cuff of his uniform. Junichi can't believe his eyes. The beautiful senior is jealous. After she realizes that the conversation was about Junichi growing closer to her, the blue-eyed girl becomes flustered. This gives Junichi the courage to ask Haruka for another smooch on his forehead. But nope, his eyebrows don't look cute today, so it's a pass for now, and well. Since she's kissed him already, Haruka thinks it's Junichi's turn to reciprocate. However, she's going to have to make him work for it, Juni. She needs to find a place where no one can see them, and they can't meet anyone along the way. Only then will Haruka let him give her a smooch. With that, the determined high schooler escorts the girl of his dreams to the building's fence. Junichi asks Haruka to go through a hole in the enclosure. Friend's blood pumps through his veins. Out of pure excitement, they reach a secluded watershed just a few steps outside the school premises. Haruka congratulates Junichi for successfully choosing an appropriate place. As they enter the surprisingly roomy shed, Junichi is overflowing with joy. He moves forward with lips puckered, aiming for Haruka's face, but he's unable to steal a smooch as the girl tells him her lips are off limits. He will need to choose another place to make it exciting. She wants him to choose an unexpected spot. If it's somewhere predictable, the boy will lose his chance to kiss her. Junichi racks his brains somewhere unexpected. He remembers the photos from Haruka's puppy books, and it hits him. He'll smooch the back of her knees. After all, Haruka did say that the boy looked like a puppy begging for her lips earlier. And by doing this, they might learn why dogs like to lick the back of their master's knees. Haruka can't argue with his reasoning, so she happily agrees, exposing the back of her knees. Haruka blushes, and when Junichi gives her a peck, she lets out a surprised yelp. Haruka stops him and he barks like a puppy, obeying his master's command to sit. Leaning back on the shed walls. Junichi is overjoyed by the experience. So much so that he seems to have forgotten halfway to assess why dogs lick the back of their master's knees. But he promises Haruka he'll let her know once he figures it out. Hearing that is enough for the girl and they head back for lunch later that evening. Junichi's non-stop smiles make me think he's gone crazy. That's it. He wants to smooch the back of Haruka's knees one more time. Just one more time, and he'll be content. Determined to get that smooch, Junichi spends the next day repeatedly asking the girl for them to do it again, but no dice. The overwhelmed Haruka calls Hibiki later that night asking what she should do about her puppy. Much to her friend's amusement, Haruka slips up and admits she's talking about a person. And as expected, Hibeki already knows it's Junichi, so she advises Haruka to let the boy spoil her. It's totally fine, just go for it, and even give a little meow. Haruka ponders over Hibeki's words, blushing while remembering how Junichi smooch tickled during lunch the next day. Haruka gives the meow meow attack a try, which is super effective. In fact, Junichi loves it. Hearing his enthusiastic response refreshes the girl. They then go to the cafeteria to grab something to eat. But Haruka says she's sick of everything on the menu. She wants something exciting. Junichi accepts the challenge and tells Haruka he'll prepare an exciting meal for her. After a few minutes, Junichi delivers a bowl of ramen to Haruka. She wonders what's so exciting about plain old noodles. And that's when Junichi says the exciting part won't be the meal, but the situation, imploring Haruka to use her imagination. Junichi sets the scene. She's just been kidnapped and her arms are bound behind her back. This excites Haruka, and she encourages the boy to continue moving on. The girl hasn't eaten for 2 days, and though there's a meal in front of her, she can't eat with her hands tied. That's where Junichi, one of the kidnappers, comes in. He's here to feed Haruka. Seeing Haruka's enthusiasm throws Junichi out of character. Making the senior ask him to be more serious about this. Like the good boy he is, Junichi embraces his role in the story, deepening his voice as he feeds Haruka. As they continue with the role play, people around them can't help but watch Hibiki, and I eventually spot them, but the captain mentions they should leave them be as Haruka's, letting Junichi spoil her. Later that night, Haruka squeals in delight. She had so much fun today. It may have taken 2 years, but there's still hope for Junichi's love life. Haruka may just be the girl to make his Christmas a merrier one than the one he had when he was stood up. Ho 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 indeed. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.